All right, everybody, how we doing? Make sure everybody can hear me and see the screen. I think I have no screen yet. Let's see what we got. All right, thank you, Karen. All right, let me give it a minute for everyone to settle in here. We'll get going. All right, typical disclaimer stuff. I'm going to cover this for the new year. CFTC Rule 4.41. Do not use money you cannot afford to risk or lose. And as usual, it's my job to keep you from violating your own rules and Rule 4.41. All right, let's do this. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, new students. Had a couple new people drop in this week. Hope you made it. Excited to be here. Look forward to this all week. We are in 2021. It is officially February. Where are you guys at? All right, it's literally 1 month down in the new year, and we are finishing the first quarter of our 12-week cycle. Hopefully everybody's in a good place. We'll talk about some of that stuff. Okay, email. I am back to working through it. So I was caught up for a day, felt great, but it didn't last, especially after last Wednesday. So I love seeing the stuff come in, and I'm working through that, getting through it. Some of the stuff I'm going to cover directly tonight that was questioned in my email inbox and stuff that's been asked of me in chats and stuff over the last couple of weeks. It's normal stuff. It's stuff that I've been seeing year in, year out, and I thought I would address it as a group tonight. All right, so look, we're in the second turn. That means we started the second quarter, first 3 weeks. All right, we're running a horse race here, if you haven't noticed. So, and I grew up going to the track when I was little with my father, and OTB. If you live outside of New York, you probably don't know what that is, but that is off-track betting. It's basically a bookie for the track on a public street. You can look at I don't know if you could still do it. It's been years. But you can look at the newspaper, has the horse races in it in New York, the Daily News. And you can go to an OTB station and place a bet on a race that hasn't run yet, and in a few hours either win or lose and know where you're at. So I don't know if anybody's in here from New York tonight knows if that's still operating. But my dad used to, it's a big deal in New York. I was a kid, man. I must have been 10 or 11. My dad would give me the money, $2 or $3, and I grew up in the 70s and 70s. I grew up in the 70s. I don't even want to say it out loud. Anyway, my dad would give me like $2 or $3 and tell me the number 3 horse in race 2 to win. And he would double park, and I would run inside the OTB. And believe it or not, they used to take money from a 10-year-old back then. They didn't care. There was no rules for that kind of stuff. Now he would probably be in prison, right? Sending a 10-year-old in to place gambling bets for him. It just didn't seem like a big deal to me at the time, but now it's like it's child abuse, I think. Anyway, so we're running a horse race. I used to listen to the race on the radio or whatever it was on. I don't even remember. But he would know who won, and then we'd either go home a loser, throw the ticket out the window on the street, probably get a ticket for that nowadays too. And he'd be aggravated for a little bit and it would pass. Interesting stuff. All right, so I mentioned this last week. We've been having GoToWebinar issues, extreme. It's been going on for a while, and I just got to bite the bullet and do it. So this is not a new announcement, but I want to remind you it's going down after Carr's meeting Thursday night going into Friday, which is technically Friday morning. So after his presentation, GoToWebinar is probably going to be down for a day or two. I don't want anybody to freak out. You may or may not get a new mailer. We're going to go through the entire spreadsheet. It's a huge undertaking. So this is what I need from you guys. I need you to get me off next Wednesday. Be good sports about it, because I usually write my presentation over the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, and then I'll look at it again Tuesday night before I go to bed, which is technically Wednesday morning. And then here I am. So this is how it goes down. So I don't really think I'm going to have the time to sit down and bang out some slides for you guys and keep going with the concept. So I'm going to cancel my class next Wednesday. So there's going to be no Steve class a week from today at 7, but Jim will do his normal pre-market stuff, okay? So just understand, I won't be here. Mention it. If somebody remembers, I know Stacy's on top of this kind of stuff. Put it in the chat next Wednesday for me a couple hours before, because you know it's going to start. There's just more stuff I gotta deal with. So I can't apologize enough, but I gotta bite the bullet on this go-to stuff and just gotta do it. It's the problem is I'm trying to serve the greater good, and most of the people get the links, but it's creating a support nightmare for the handful of people that do not get it and don't know when the meeting is. And I could gripe about it all night. Griping ain't gonna fix nothing. It's got to bite the bullet and knock it out. So my wife's going to help me, my support staff. I have a couple people lined up, and we're just going to go person by person and get everybody registered. What I need you to do, simple, is just I'm going to place, you're either going to get an emailed link for the new registration. Just register. If you're not a paying student and you've been hanging out, or you're in here hacked, it's over. This is your last class. So we're going to sort it all out, figure out who belongs, who doesn't belong, and get to the bottom of all this other stuff that's going on, and see if I can't fix the links and tidy up the logs. What's going on is the logs and the links don't match the registrants, and it's just been a mess, and it's not working right. People are bouncing. I just don't know the reason. I can't figure it all out. The bit.ly links, it's a million different things, but I don't want to spend our time complaining about it. It'll be done this week. I need off next week, bottom line. All right, here we are. So believe it or not, this is done. All right, we started our cycle here. 1, 2. Wow, that was the best 2 I ever drew. That's not a bad 3 either. All right. I'm using my sideways or vertical mouse. Thanks, buddy. He knows who sent it to me. Anyway, so first quarter. Here we are, second quarter, week 1. All right, so it's going by fast. All right, where are we at in the cycle? Okay, wait, let me back up. Okay, no class here. All right, so this is still week 2 for you. Week 3. All right, then we're into the third quarter. 1, 2, 3. I knew my penmanship was short-lived. All right, and then this is it. 1, 2, 3. The end of it. That would be your first 12-week cycle done. Okay? No, the email has not gone out. The email will go out starting Friday night or Friday morning, depends on what part of the world you're in, and we'll go from there. All right. I promise I won't leave you hanging. I'll type updates in Skype chat. Everyone's going to know. I'm going to keep everybody informed. Just register and look for the link in your inbox or in Skype. I'll place it in there. All right. Okay. So that's it. This is where we are. January, done. First month. Okay. So first quarter, right? You're a quarter of the way done. Where are you in the cycle? Where are you at? Are you getting things done? Are you accomplishing what you set out to accomplish? Did your energy wane? Did you lose your enthusiasm because the holiday's over, the tree's down, the bills are coming in? This is where the rubber meets the road. This is what separates, and it's an old saying, the men from the boys, right? I guess the girls from the women. This is where you got to get moving. This is the hard part. This becomes the grind. If you look at every quarter as a year and be aggressive, you're technically in March on your 12-week year. You got to pick up the pace. You got to get back to work. You got to find the enthusiasm, and it's inside yourself. Everybody has it. You got to find it, and you got to get going. All right, so we're working on this stuff. Okay, we are still looking at this approach. This is taking a little longer than I thought, but it's very important. If you have no direction when you walk into the office to work, what are you going to do? Just stand there and stare at charts, trade what everyone else is talking about, have no plan? This has to be developed properly. We're still getting there, right? For things to change, you have to change. My buddy Jim Rohn, hope you guys are listening to that stuff. You got to change from the inside out. That's how it works. You have to be different, worthy, better, accepting. Accept yourself. The hardest thing to do is accept yourself, and that's what you have to do. All right, we know that one already. Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines every single day. Okay, what would be those disciplines? If you're brand new, it's marking charts, homework, looking for past setups, WSM viewer, and just spending a consistent amount of time, right? You want to lose weight? Stop eating. That's the bottom line. Get on a treadmill, right? There used to be a DJ who used to say, shut your hole and get on a treadmill, right? Basically, stop eating and get on a treadmill. You want to be more physically fit? Join a boot camp. Go to Orange Theory, find a group class, buy the mirror, go to Beachbody for 40 bucks a month right from your house. There's ways to do it. You just got to find the way, man. And the thing is, you got to find something that's comfortable for you, that you enjoy. I'm going to talk about that stuff tonight, something that resonates with you. All right, 12-week year. This is the book that we're structuring our cycle on. I want everybody to be using audio. I don't want to waste a lot of time with this stuff tonight. Everything that we do, this is bar none the best book I've ever read on structuring your life for success. Period. And I've read a million. And when I say read, like wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I'm audio booking it, right? I don't know if it's actually reading, but this is the book that I found several years back that has been amazing for structuring your life. The problem with trading is you got to have some kind of structure. Jim Rohn book, 11 hours, 23 minutes. You should be able to look at it at about 8 hours, 8.5 hours if you run it in 1.25 time. Okay, so we're on the planning cycle. The assignment was for you to write a very detailed explanation, like you're talking to a 10-year-old and teaching them how to trade. Right? This was enlightening for quite a few people, and the other quite a few didn't do it. So I don't know. I'm still working through your trade plans if you send them to me. If I didn't answer you, it doesn't mean I didn't get it. It just means it's in queue. I always try to be fair. I answer people in the order it came in. It's time stamped, man. So it's fair. And sending it to me again and calling support, that shit doesn't work. I'm not going to get to it any faster. You know what I mean? If you send it to me, and when I come in here and say, hey, I'm caught up, then I haven't answered you, then I did not get it. But I go in timestamp order for everybody, the date, time. It goes right in my inbox in order. You guys all have email. You know what I'm talking about, right? All right, let's get to the lesson part. So this is another plan that came in I thought was excellent. I mean, this guy is like, this might resonate with a lot of people. He has like time graphs and charts, and it's amazing. I don't even know how he found the time to do this. I feel like if he would put this kind of effort into his homeworking, and I imagine he does, he'd be in a really good spot. So just want you to look at it. Wishing me well, blah, 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 right? Here's his graph. Here's his percent numbers. You guys know how to read these. Based on that performance, I discovered some gaps between psychology and analysis with me. If you say anything about this, you're talking about me. So I planned the cycle below to focus more on homework of the IDs. And he moved. He took some time off. There's a hole in the data. This is his weekly schedule, right? This is his model week. This is what it should look like. His time is accounted for. These are his rules. I'm leaving it up so you could either screenshot it right now, or you can go back and watch the slideshow and look at it and pause the slide. Okay, so from February to March, I will not deviate from my trading plan. I will not overtrade, over risk. On February, I'll risk 0.5% with a 1 to 2 risk to reward. On March, I'll risk 1% with 1 to 2, and I will follow my trading plan. It's very well written, very well laid out. He has the graphs are crazy, man. I don't even know how he could graph all that stuff, but it's amazing. Okay, this is the email that since I started teaching, I've probably gotten, if I got it once, I got it 100, 200 times at least. I couldn't even tell you the amount of time. I get it a multiple amount of times every quarter, every year. So I'm going to read this email and talk about it. So I need some help. I don't know if this person's here tonight. I will not name anybody by name. I don't want you guys bothering them, or they got to find their own path. I need some help. I feel like I'm the student that can repeat your class back to you and do the homework you assign, but I don't follow my own plan. Like I create the plan, but after a while, it doesn't resonate with me anymore. I'm comfortable trading on the 4-hour and daily. I'm trying to implement car style of trading, but I feel like something's not clicking since it doesn't trade. He doesn't trade those time frames. When I watch Doug's material, the way he teaches it, I can't follow. I'm not sure what to do. I keep jumping back and forth between the instructors. I know you say not to do that, and I do enjoy Car's material. I'm just doesn't trade the time frame she likes. So basically, she's at a loss right now, and it's tough. So basically, she knows the material and she's struggling, and that's understandable, right? So I already said this. I've decided to address this email here in the group because I received this email numerous times over the years. So the problem is this: it's how to move past the memorization and basically regurgitation of information. Because our whole society and school system is based on this very thing. I mean, I don't know if school's gotten any better. It's been a long time since I've been, but school basically was regurgitation, right, of information that's given to you. So everyone's been taught since childhood, you repeat memorized data as a test of your knowledge on a topic. You go home, you memorize the spelling words, you go through the math problems, history, and you spit it back to the teacher. That's basically what they tell you. So if you memorize something, you can make straight A's in school. The problem is, and math is the only real exception to this, is that you got to conceptualize and truly learn it and understand it and apply it. But part of the process is at least knowing the material, and memorization has its part. But now you have to take that information and transpose it into concepts. And that's where technically the rubber meets the road and people are struggling, right? Repeating my course back to me is not enough, obviously. There's some mechanical things that have to be done in order for you to make that transition. But some people can't even repeat it back. So they're not immersed in the material at the level that they probably should be, right? So I've said this for a while, and you have to find your spot in the business. We all know there's several applications to how to apply this knowledge and my methods to the market, any market. And that's where it starts to become conceptualized. The important thing is that the trade setup you choose must resonate with you in some kind of way, whatever it is. You got to feel good about it, comfortable. It's got to be easy to see, easy to execute. Are you using a liberal stop? Are you using a very tight stop? Are you the kind of person that doesn't mind being in drawdown? Do you want to be out right away and move on with your life? Are you flexible and or are you rigid? Or are you very like type A? That's what you have to figure out. Does something make you feel fantastically excited when you see it? Or are you just like, whatever, there it is, take it or leave it? You got to figure out where you are, what your spot is. That's the biggest problem in the business, right? So listen, do this with me a minute. Close your eyes right now. I bet every one of you in here, guaranteed, can sing your favorite song of all time, word for word, if you just close your eyes and think about it. Right? How in the world can you do that? Now ask yourself this question, especially your older guys, older gals, excuse me, both. How many songs can you recite word for word? 10, 110, 1,000? If you think about this, this is an amazing feat for you mentally. Anyone. Why do you think that is? Why do you think you could do this? I know I do it. The song I got married to, Edwin McCain from Dawson's Creek. I'm dating myself a little bit. I'll Be by Edwin McCain. I know word for word. I'm not going to sing for you, by the way. What's happened with this memory or this trigger is that the musical arrangement, the words and the theme struck you in such a way that it totally either described you, defined you, moved you in a way that it was all the way to your soul, right? Siobhan, how many songs can you sing? Think about it, right? The second reason is excessive repetition. Ever lock a song on replay? A sad one, right? Maybe you broke up or you got dumped and you put on whatever the saddest song was out at the time that was in the top 10, and you probably put it on replay and just recycled that song over and over because it actually described what you were going through, made you feel a certain way. It basically resonated with you all the way down to your soul. Got a wedding song, got a graduation song, got a song on your first kiss. Group called Foreigner for me. You guys remember that song Urgent? Okay, what else? Think about how music has played some role in your life. And if music hasn't played any role in your life, I think you don't have a soul, man. But the thing about this capability is that it makes me know that everyone in here, it's possible. If you're basically struggling because you haven't found your music in the trading business. That's the bottom line. You haven't found a setup and something that rocks you to your core like that. You guys with me so far? Am I losing it tonight? It's got to be something that you walk up to and almost sings to you and you can feel it. That's the dilemma. Now the problem is realizing this. How do I find your music? How do I play it for you? Or how do I give it to you to put it on repeat? And that's my dilemma, and I'm going to figure it out. So first of all, you got to identify yourself and the kind of person you are. We did this a couple years ago, and we had a lot of success with it, so I brought it back. You got to identify yourself or your type. So we mentioned a few personality tests that we did a couple years ago, the Myers-Briggs, and there's one on baby pips. And what that does, it basically evaluates you as a trader. It's going to tell you like short bursts, you should be a scalper, you should be a swing trader. And this is what I want. Anyone that can read my course back to me, that could sing it back to me, but it's not rocking your soul because you haven't found your spot in this business. You got to find out what clicks with your personality. Some of you are struggling between Carr's shorter time frame and the higher time frames, but you want to apply his methods to those things. That's doable. If that rocks you and that's the way it's got to go, then that's what you need to do. And you know what? There's nobody teaching that in here. Be the first one. Be a pioneer. Put it together. Put the rules together. Send them to me, and I'll tell you if it's right. Because the thing is that a chart is a chart is a chart. And I can tell you that if rules work on a 5-minute, they work on a 55-minute and a 550-minute. That's not really a time frame. It just rhymed. You understand? If you can see something on a 1-minute, you could see it on a 60-minute or 4-hour or daily. Just takes longer to develop. And you know what? If you are indecisive and take longer to make a decision, then you might be a 4-hour daily person. You got 3 hours and 59 minutes to make a decision when a candle paints, right? Before the next paint. So if you go, man, that looks pretty good. Let me think about it. Okay. The biggest problem with execution and the bridge between putting a trade on is understanding what you're looking at and feeling it that it feels right to you inside. Now, there's going to be some degree of uncertainty. That's the business. That's the nature of how this business operates. You can't control what actually the outcome is, and you can't fault yourself for a losing trade. But, like I talked about last week, that's how society ingrains that in you. That's how you either have to make straight A's and be right and be correct all the time, or you're wrong and you're a failure. That stuff goes out the window in the trading business. You know what being right is? Executing and sticking to your rules and pulling that trade off flawlessly. That makes you 100% student, an A plus. So if you start skewing that in your mind as correct, then whatever the trade does is out of your hands. And that's 100% true. You can't will the market. If you've read the books with me, the zone, man, some big guy can step in front of a perfect M formation with 1,000 contract buy order and destroy the apex nadery thing, right? Had to throw that in there. If you're looking for the shift through, he could stop that shift mid-bar with 3 levels deep of book stripes. And that's basically orders. Okay, so this is, just Google it, man. This is the personality test from Myers-Briggs. We did this. It helps identify. I know that some people sent me their reports a couple years ago. Very, very interesting stuff. But you need to classify yourself. And there's several types. There's creative types. Those are the people that I found, like photographers, artists, art teachers, people that like to paint, draw, sketch, people that find that stuff. Basically, if you think about what that is, it's like coloring outside the lines. The people that color outside the lines, that are very creative, people that bake, that cook, that make their own recipes, people that color outside the lines struggle in the business. It's because basically you make your own rules. You're like, oh, I don't like that picture of the ocean. I'll draw that shit myself better than this dude photographed it, right? If you're that kind of person, that's why you have a hard time making a decision in the business. Is that your fault? No, it's your personality type. It has nothing to do with being able to trade or not being able to trade. You just have to find your spot, something that feels like art to you, the Mona Lisa of the business, right? I've been saying that for years. I haven't said it in quite some time. But you need to paint your Mona Lisa when you pull the trigger. That's how you get that creative release in the business, by finding the perfect setup that looks almost like you drew it or marked it. You got to find that spot. So what I need the struggling people that this letter that I'm speaking to tonight, to take one of these tests. You don't want to share it with me, it's none of my business. But if you find your personality type, especially this one on baby pips, right? It tells you right here, what kind of trader should you be? Okay, day trader, swing, hold a position for several days up to weeks, or scalper. Maybe a position trader is for you. Maybe you put something on, you get separation, you go to break even, and you're looking for the 180-day, 6-month cycle type thing. I've said it 100 times, there's 30-day, 90-day, 180-day cycles in the business, quarterlies. Right, first of the year, dealers put a position on. They're anticipating euro is going to be 10,000 pips higher. Maybe that's for you. Maybe that's the kind of trade you add to, build on, find your spot, right? Day trader, in at the beginning of the session, out at the end of the session. Scalper, in on a bar, out on the second bar. You guys know what this stuff is. But possibly this is what's messing with you. This is why you're not in a good place in the business. Okay, so once you identify the type of trader, you need to be at peace in the business. You're trying to find a way for you to feel good in front of the charts. That's what you're looking for. If you're a high energy person, intraday, even scalping, that's okay. But here's a rule, man. You're not trusting your gut. We're basically trying to fit square peg in a round hole, or all those cliches. You guys know I'm high strung if you haven't noticed. And you know how I am. I know my personality type. I'm type A, and I got to be right. And if I'm not right, I'm older, I'm a little more mature, I'm not argumentative. I probably was much more when I was younger, but I've, like, believe it or not, this is me mellowed out. So you have to find something that feels right all the way to the core. It's got to play to you, man. It's got to be your music. It's got to be your I'll Be by Edwin McCain. It's got to be Journey. It's got to be something that works for you, that you could play on replay and never get sick of it. That's what you're looking for. And you got to trust your gut, man. If you sit down and mark up these rules and don't see it on the chart and don't feel right about it, your gut's telling you for a reason, right? Your instinct, your intuition, whatever you want to call that. They call it your gut, whatever. You know the story with this stuff. Everyone knows this stuff. But you got to find this inside you. If you don't like zone flips and you don't like the higher time frame, faster stuff, there's a reason. It doesn't speak to you. Okay? So once you understand where you are in this, you got to follow the instructor that closely identifies with your results. Okay? If you're feeling car, right? This is the example. If it's car from the letter I received, then base your entire strategy on car set, execution, money management, trade management. But apply car set to a higher time frame. It's the same thing. If you're looking for a moving average crossover return into the 50, it does that shit on the 4 hour. Last time I checked. Yesterday, today. But the thing that this does for you is it gives you a total template already laid out to follow. You just click the time frame button on top of the screen and everything else applies. You find out where the stop goes, not where car puts it on a 4 hour chart, but the mechanical reason behind it. So let's say that you get a crossover on an average and price comes through, close above, back below, and taps it, and you're looking for a bounce type trade, right? Okay, if the stop normally goes here, it still goes here on a 4 hour trade. But the difference is that this shift bar or the confirmation entry trigger, instead of being 15 pips, might be 40 or 50 pips. So now you're looking at a deeper stop, right? Because your stop has to go above the last swing point in any system. Okay, so now you're saying, well, Steve, I don't know if I could trade with a 50 pip stop. Of course you can. If you're looking for 150 or 1500 or 15,000 ticks or pips, of course you can. Because it's all about the R, baby. And the R value is the risk to reward. If you're going to take a 10R trade, it doesn't matter if the stop is 50 because the target is 500 over 3 days. That's what you have to get your head around. Are you going to aggregate if it goes against you? Are you going to scale in against your own position? Then that's risk management. That's 1% at the onset, 1% against you, and 2% max at the bar swing high. That kind of stuff. You got to find a spot for that. Then you average in your position and you look for a target back at the original entry. Those things. Right? That has to be done through homework and planning. I can't do that for you. But I can give you this, that if you are struggling and can't find your spot, now's the time. We're ready in February. You've wasted the first month of the year and you're still floundering around without even a methodology. And that's not what you came here for. Right? So what do you do in this situation? Well, it's like I talked about basic knowledge, from copying, regurgitating to knowing. Anybody does that. First thing you do is you memorize something, right? You want to learn how to spell? You regurgitate a bunch of words and learn how to spell them by memorization. Then as you get older, think about the basic stuff you've done. This is no different. It's just that you freak out. You don't apply the stuff, the fundamentals to trading. What does that mean? Okay, how do you learn how to spell? You learn the sounds put together. You conceptualize the concept of spelling. First, you just memorize a bunch of letters in the air. I'm going through this with my kids, so I understand it. If you have kids, this should make perfect sense to you. You tell spell cat, spell dog, and they just call out the letters. They don't know what the hell they're doing. They just say that's the letters they memorized. Then as they move through the grades, they go, I understand the A sound. I understand the short A, the long A. I understand what the T, how that all conceptualizes and fits together. Then you don't have to memorize words anymore. You memorize the mechanics of spelling. I need you to memorize and become proficient in the mechanics of trade execution. That's what I'm asking you to do. Okay, so I'm giving you Carr's template for successful 50-50 bounce trades, for successful straightaways, continuation moves. Call them what you want. So now you got to go from copying Carr's template to knowing. Try to mark your charts on a more personal level. You have to ask yourself the questions at what I call decision points, right? This is how you go from copying to knowing. Ask yourself, what are the dealers trying to do here? Remember, I've talked about this before, and you new guys won't remember this, but you got to pretend you're the dealer and you're creating the feed, right? You got to talk to yourself like you're on the backside of the screen, like you're the one creating this market action, right? Perfect example. Dealer shows, or the chart shows outside spike to the high and holds the higher levels as consolidation. Fails to break higher. Okay. You know what that would look like, right? Okay, let's say Asia. Price comes out, dealer spikes high, turns into a pin, goes into consolidation at higher levels. Now you ask yourself, okay, what did I just witness? The dealer induced higher level longs to go long and hold long. The dealer's in consolidation off the high, but extremely off the low. This would be about, if this, whatever this bar was, but for argument, let's say it's a 100 pip move, he would probably consolidate around 75 pips, right? So there would be a range between 90 and 75. So now it's basically high side Asia. What is he doing? He's holding the level 2 hours or more, inducing people to pile on long by validating the BS technical stuff. Your averages are crossed up, you have some separation, they start to turn flat. Then people are like, oh, he's going to continue, right? What would be the clue to reverse that? Pins high, failed auction higher, inside bar type stuff, developing a wedge, developing the trap, blah, blah, blah. The stuff I've been talking about since I started teaching this stuff. That's what you have to see and start conceptualizing by looking from the back of the screen and saying, if I was a dealer, what did I accomplish by this move? I induce higher level long holders. I induce more buying. I'm accumulating longs. Well, I don't accumulate longs to go long. If I'm a dealer, I accumulate longs to go short. I'm selling to you as the buyer. It's the opposite effect. So in order to conceptualize this stuff, you have to look at each move on the chart, and it has to resonate with you. It has to sing to you. It has to play for you, whatever you want to call it. But now you're starting to take from copying to knowing, and you're taking yourself along the way by taking a concept that I laid out for you and making it your own and making it resonate in your soul with you in some way. That's what I'm asking you to do. That's the only way. And if you can't tell, I've been passionate about the business for 20 years. Now you're talking to a guy that started trading in 1999, and I got smoked just like everybody else. The only difference is I met the right person, the right people. You met the right person. You're here. You're in this group. So whatever you want to call it, fate, a fluke, kismet, whatever people call this stuff. I met the right guy at the right time in my life. And you know, what is that? When the student's ready, the teacher will appear. Well, my insider knowledge, whatever you want to call it, on the business has brought me a deep amount of joy and passion about the business 20 years later. But you guys understand, you guys are my legacy. If you're failing, then I failed. If I'm not here anymore, something happens to me, whatever, life, you guys are my legacy, man. And if you're not getting it and you're trashing me all over the internet, then I failed you as an instructor. But the problem is you can't fail yourself. You got to make the adjustments in your life if this is what you want. And if you don't want it, I get it. Because everyone who comes in here and thinks like, I'll click a few buttons, I'll be a millionaire, I'll fly around on my jet, right? It's not how this thing works, man. And that's one of the biggest things is the misconception about the business. You got to get real with yourself and understand what you're capable of as a person, what your time constraints and the way your life is structured. You got to be fair to yourself. This business is about return on equity. That's it. It's not about a million pips. If you can take less pips with more lots and return on equity, your R value, the whole business is based on that letter right there. And it's applicable meaning in this business. If you can make 10% a day, 10% a week, 40% a month, compound that out using money management spreadsheets, stuff we're going to talk about, risk of ruin curves, assessments, and plug this number into those sheets, then your returns are going to be impeccable. And that's what the business is about anyway. Then the goal is to grow your capital, apply for a combine. Those things are out there. I want to talk about that stuff. A combine is where you qualify for them to manage money for people. So if you don't know what that is, and that's something that is very doable for anybody in here if you make up your mind. And they're very fair on the splits. And there's a couple of companies that I know paid out in the millions. They're not bullshit. They're straight. All right. Still with me or put everybody to sleep tonight, right? Okay, so by pretending to be the dealer, you're giving yourself the opportunity to conceptualize this stuff, the moves, the behaviors of the market. Think about this, and this is an absolute fact. There are only a handful of moves that are used on all instruments and all time frames. All right, let me say that again. There's only a handful of moves that are used on all instruments and all time frames. I could show the exact pattern on a 5-minute that I could show you on a daily, a weekly, a 4-hour, a 1-hour. It's the same exact thing. Why? Because in order for the 1 hour to show an outside high bar, pins to the top, it has to show up on the 5-minute too. Just in what you would get is maybe 12 5-minute bars to form the 1 hour candle. But if the 1 hour bar is straight up, you'll get the same straight upness on a 5-minute chart. Once you can visualize what's happening as it develops, you are now learning to think as opposed to repeating and regurgitating the information. So think about knowledge. First comes memorization, which the letter clearly stated they were in that phase. Right? They can regurgitate my class back to me, but they haven't conceptualized it and haven't found their spot. They haven't found their entry that resonates with them inside, that sings to them, that speaks to them, whatever you want to call it. They haven't found that spot. What are you going to do? Take the test. Take the psychology test. If you don't know what's going on inside, if you're broken, if you got some other, you got to take a look under the hood, right? You got to get this thing working. So here's the summary of everything I just said. Take a personality test. Borrow one of the instructor's set. Okay, who? Well, first of all, spend some time going through everything, especially if you're brand new and you started like yesterday and you're already mad at me. It happens, by the way. Look at car stuff. Look at gym stuff. Look at my original stuff and the stuff I'm talking about now and see if any of that speaks to you. My stuff is not any different than it was 15 years ago. It's just an advanced, moving forward, growing in the business, growing as a person, evolution. The tools have changed since I started. Man, I started on 17-inch CRTs on one of those. I showed you guys the pictures, but not recently. On one of those stupid, for me, it was like press board. The tables are made out of plastic now with the steel legs, and I don't know what you call them. They look like lunchroom tables. That was my desk. And I didn't have Walmart. I didn't have ordering online. Amazon brings it to your house and waves at you. I had to go to the store, borrow my father's station wagon. All right, this is kind of funny. And go buy one of those table that looked like cheap brown wood paneling, the top, and steel legs, and it was pressed board wood. I had to get my brother to help me carry it into my room and set it up and put 17-inch things on it, monitors, CRTs, these big 200-pound screens. It's just crazy how much this business has changed. Okay, plan out what you want to do, memorize it, then start executing it, and let it speak to you in some kind of way. Make it your own. You know what? Car does this, but I feel better when I do that. That's what I'm looking for from you. And that's where you got to be at. A lot of you are like, "Oh, Steve, you wasted my time tonight." Man, this applies for anybody. Make it your own. How do I make it my own, Steve? A set of rules that feels right to you inside. Time of day. That could be anything from, man, I ain't getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning. This guy's been smoking something. So, okay, what time of day works for you? You know that if you trade daily charts, you need to show up at the close of the daily candle for about a half an hour a day, probably around between 5 and 6 o'clock, depending on when your dealer settles. Okay, you make it your own by picking pairs of choice. I like the way yen moves, or I like the way euro moves. I can't stand the way crude oil moves. Okay, what time are you going to be in the office? What time works for you? Do you get annoyed at looking at charts? So you can do all the prep work away from the desk, and then for 30 minutes a day on a 1 hour a daily time frame, you pick your trades. The thing about dailies, it will require going through more pairs because you're not going to get setups as often. And in that case, you would need multiple pairs to find execution a couple times during the week. But if you're going to execute on the daily, then your signals have to be on the daily. If you're going to execute, and you would use the monthly and weekly to give you a flow of which way it's going. All right, so once you map out what time you're going to be in the office, the pairs you're going to trade, the stuff you want to look at, revert back to the few planning lessons and go forward, the stuff we've been talking about. And I realize that's spelled wrong up there. Don't hurt me. Too bad. I'll point it out so you don't have to send me an email and aggravate yourself. All right, so you guys in a good place? You understand what I'm asking of you? It's not hard. It's just requires some effort. It's not going to be, I know you thought you'd throw money at me and I'd show you a couple of tricks and you'd be making $1 million this week. I understand that. That is, I always want you to understand the business is not like that. And listen, if you do this test and decide that this is not for you, I completely understand. But if you know deep down inside this is your way to work from home, then you're in the right spot. But it takes a little bit of work. You got to roll up your sleeves and get going. That's all there is to it. All right, a couple of questions, and I'll look at a few charts, and I'll wrap this up tonight. Anybody got anything to say? I'm here. Throw it up there. Chris, I saw something scroll by, but I couldn't stop talking. I was on a roll. Okay, cool. If you want to share the test with me, please. No problems. And listen, I will not ever embarrass anyone or put them on the spot. I won't operate like that. I know people hate that. I know it's uncomfortable. I'll never do that to you. You guys know that I'm not like that. Okay, what's the best way to find your favorite pairs? Good question. Here's the deal with that. Certain pairs do certain things. Pound yen moves very aggressively. There's wide spreads. There's spikes. You got to find out if that's what your spot is. The only way to do that is to, if you have a decent setup, try to run each individual pair that you feel an interest in on screens and let them play out. Watch them during news, watch them during regular sessions, watch them during quiet times, and see if you can find your spot there. But if you're trading futures, the GJ of futures is the gold contract, COMEX gold. Crude oil is a second aggressive pair. If you're trading normal stuff, right, there's the sixes in the future contract, 6A Australian, 6B British pound. If you're trading Forex straight, GJ, EU, GU. If you're brand new, I already can tell you, you want to trade GU and EU. Chris, this is for you, brother. GU and EU, and maybe a commodities cross, which would be Australian or CAD, something calm, something tied. CAD is tied to oil, Australian's tied to gold. Get a rough idea which way it's going to go. Yen is tied to gold. GU, EU, and then pick out of the other remaining majors. Don't trade any aggressive crosses brand new. So, right, so here, your screen should look like this, right? You got, let's say you're going to do 4. I have to do 4. I can't do 3 because I have to have my screen crossed into balance. I'm not well. That's a whole nother lesson, right? So my screen would look like this, GU, EU, and maybe I would look at UJ, right? And then I would look at maybe Australian, AU, or UC, dollar CAD. I can't stand the way Swiss moves, dollar Swiss, hate it. So that's off my table. I used to like pound Swiss, used to be huge like GJ aggressive. Depends on what you're looking for. Right? I'm looking for cleaner moves. Now I'm trading this in what they call the 6E version, 6B version, 6J. I don't like as much. The decimals are weird. You'll see it. 6J. And this would be 6A. Right? And then anything on the 6. If you don't know what the 6s are, just Google futures contract, the 6s, and you should get your answer. And it's basically all the majors on a 6. Not telling you to go do that. I'm just telling you they're out there. Okay? What else? What test do I take for that? Okay, I want to know what type of trader I am. Okay, the test I just put up, Myers-Briggs or Baby Pips. Take them both. I just told you the test. Google traders test. There's a couple of psychologists that put out there. I know all these guys, man. They've been around for a long time. There's a guy named Steve President out of Miami. This guy is a maniac. He reminds me of me. He's the Steve Mauro of psychology, or I'm the Steve Presence of trading. I don't know, one of the two. But I'm not telling you to go see a psychologist. That's what the banding group is about. If you know the stuff I've talked about with Bruce Lipton, then you understand the stuff about psychology might be a waste of your time. I've tried all this stuff, man. I've done it. I've been tried to be hypnotized. I'm not hypnotizable, if that's a word. Doesn't work for me. And I can't go to someone that I just meet and start pouring out my personal bullshit to them. The banding group, the headbands or headbanders, is a group that is based on Bruce Lipton's work that we're doing. I only have a handful of people that took part in it. Maybe it's something you want to revisit. But basically, you create a self-hypnosis pattern. The way to understand Jason is to go Google Bruce Lipton, psychologist, watch some of his YouTube videos. And he basically explains what headbanding is and how it works. And I've done some. He's the founder or one of the founders of Psych K, which is basically looking under the hood and trying to fix your problems. And that's where all this stuff in your life, all the bullshit, all the garbage, all the baggage, all the good, all the bad, it all stems from your childhood, how you were brought up. And he talks about that. It's amazing stuff. And what started this whole quest for me, this journey, of course, anyone could get involved in that group. It's not really a group. It's a handful of people. I put it out to everyone in the group, and a handful of people say that they understand and they know that's what their problem is and they want to be involved. So send me an email. Tell me you want to be in the headband group. I'll give you some links of where to go, who to learn about, and then how to move forward. Yeah, my email's not changed, man, in 15 years. Just email. So here's the thing, man, that started this. Is I have this information that was given to me. I traded it. Loved it. Thought that, what's my legacy? What am I doing? I have kids. Where am I going in life? What's going on with me? What happens when I die? And it made me look inside myself and put this class together. That's how this whole thing started, right? I had a young son. I have a son and a daughter now. Had a young son at the time and realized that there's got to be more out there for me. There's got to be something better. Felt just like everybody else feels. And I thought, man, it would be really nice to create my legacy, you guys, with all this information I have. It would be a shame to take this information to the grave. So that's how this class was born. Now, after teaching it, and you guys became a pain in my ass, a thorn in my side, a labor of love. Let's just leave it at, hey, you guys are like air quotes, labor of love, right? So after finding out that once I just convey this information, I really thought if I show people stuff they didn't know about the charts, they'll just all be successful. It's like a lay down. It's like a used car salesman, somebody walking on a lot that says, "Oh, I'm ready to buy a car today." That they call that a lay down. It's a done deal. That's what I thought. And I could have never been more wrong about anything I ever did in my entire life. So, Ed, whenever you sent it, man, I'm going in order, brother. If it's in there, it'll get answered. You guys got to give me a break on that, man. I promise you, I always answer and work through the emails. I'm going in order. I called out for people to send me email, and you guys finally responded. So I have to read everyone's trading plan and tell them yay or nay. So I'm going through it. It's a lot of work. And I had to present here for you tonight and still have some kind of time with my family and work on support stuff. And I'm not making excuses. I love it. This is what I signed up for. But I promise you, if you send it to me, I'll get to it. Give me a little chance. All right. So like some people wrote me like an hour and go, Steve, you didn't answer my email. I'm like, all right, man, I get it. Probably not gonna have a meetup this year, man. All right, it's almost 8 o'clock. I have charts to go over, but I'm gonna end it here. So look, don't forget, I'm not gonna be in next Wednesday. Over the weekend, right? Just be clear. Over the weekend, go to webinar, go to meeting. It's gonna be getting a new invitation. It's from me, it's legit, it's happening. And we're going to weed out all the problematic things that are going on in there. All right, so look, let me leave you with this. What do you do now? Did I make it better for you? Did I make it worse? Did I confuse you more? It's not what I was looking for. Here's what you got to do. Go back and find your spot. Find your spot. Ask me about it. If you're not sure, here, send me an email. Just pile it on. Do it. I'll get to it, I promise. Find your spot in the business and then build your foundation. It's not too late, man. We're second quarter of the year. It's 1 month. There's 11 months ahead of you. But you got to be aggressive and you got to start making things happen if you want success by summer, by fall, by winter. Man, I've been through this, I guess, 11, 12 seasons now. I've watched, I draw, I mark up the calendar, and just as quick as it started, it disappears, and we're at the December calendar. Just like amazingly fast. And if you notice that as you get old, you start noticing that time doesn't wait for anybody. So you got to jump on and make something happen. Here we are. Everybody knows what date it is, right? And just like that, I'm going to X this out. And just like that, I'm going to X this out. Just put it in, just like I said, put in futures contract 6. I wrote it for you. That's the easiest thing in the world to do is Google something. Yes, got it? Okay. Don't let me X out February in your face and do nothing. It's coming. Look, we're here. I'm off here. I'll be back here. February's over. Right? Boom, boom, done. You're into March. Just like that. Don't let me X this out in your face without doing anything. Don't be back here in 3 weeks and I'm Xing this out in your face. Do something. Make a move, man. All right, another song, Dare You to Move. Yes, Chris, in the next couple of months, in the next quarter, yeah, you should be in your spot, man. Yeah, Rajiv, you found it. That's it. Okay. And listen, if you guys, this is what the chat is for. If you want to talk to each other in there, that stuff makes me happy. If you go, hey, I found, here's the link, check this test out. I took this and turns out I'm a psychopath. Okay. Maybe you don't want to post that, but you know what I mean. Talk to each other. Find your spot, man. You got to find something that you can relate to and that feels good to you, or you're never going to love the business at a deeper level. Anything that you've ever loved or loved doing has been easy for you. Think about that. It's absolutely true. If it's work and you don't bury yourself in it, you're not going to have the success. When I say if it's work, if it's something you hate and it turns into work, if you're not excited to get up, man, I love Wednesdays from 6 to 7 p.m. or 6 to 6:59. I'm excited, pumped up. I listen to my favorite songs and get jacked, just like I used to do when I did it live on stage. Love this stuff. Love being here with you guys. I hate all the side work, but that's the way it goes, man. And the side work is fixing GoToWebinar links and office crap. Even if I have people for that, nobody understands what I'm trying to do like me, so I got to do it. You know what I mean? There's always some good and bad. If you could see if the good outweighs the bad, you're in the right place. If you don't enjoy what you're doing, then maybe this business isn't for you. And I'm not trying to run you off, but I want you to be real with yourself. I don't want you to half-ass your way through the business and watch me put X's on these calendars, and then it'll be this. The next one will be December, and you'll be like, "Well, another year. I'm still screwing around with this shit." I don't want you to be like that. And it happens. You got to make up your mind if this is for you and this is the business, and you got to go after it like you would a 9-to-5 job because your employer makes you. You got to make yourself. You got to employ yourself and make yourself do it. All right, man. Talking too much tonight. No class next Wednesday. I appreciate you guys answering email in order. Take the test. If you're not embarrassed, send it to me. If you're really not embarrassed, post it. Let's see if we can't get each other going in the right direction. Good night.